and welcome back to my channel. So a lot of you guys have been asking me questions in my DMs about like MCAT stuff, and so I was like, all right, let me just do an MCAT question and just like lay it all out there and give you guys 10 tips on attacking your MCAT. Like, what did I do? Now, this is a bit of a disclaimer. This is again like what I did, so it may not work for you, but it worked for me, so I figured I'd share that information. So let's get started. So tip number 1 is that you need to set a realistic goal for yourself, and the way that you need to set a realistic goal for yourself is by taking a practice exam. And some of you are like, oh, I don't want to take a practice exam. Well, how do you know where you are unless you take a practice exam? Like, how do you know if you're doing, like, if you're amazing or if you're like, you need to study a lot? I need to study a lot, so I took a practice exam. So a lot of like different companies like Kaplan or like, what are they called, Exam Crackers and Prison Review, they do like promotions where they give free practice exams, and the normal exam is like 7.5 hours, right? So the practice exams that they give for free are like half that, and so it's still like relatively close to what you are gonna score on the actual thing. This is the first test that you take, so take a practice exam to start off. That will tell you like, how much do I need to study? I need to study a lot because I didn't do good, or like, oh, I just need like a month or two, like, you know. And then also, if you're like in the middle of school and you're working, then you know you need like more time than if you're in the summer and you have like all this free time just to study all day long every day. Then yeah, so set a goal like, oh, I'm gonna take my MCAT on July 21st and it's May 1st, so I have all this time to study and this is my score right now, so that's my goal. What is it? No, tip number 2, that's like 4 2, make a plan. So the best way to make a plan is to write it out. So what I did was I printed out like these calendars for like 3 months or something, and I literally wrote out hour by hour what I have to do, because that's what I need. Like, I need something to tell me what to do at 10 o'clock in the morning and what to do at 1. I even penciled in when to eat because that's just me. So, and I still kind of do that for med school. When I have an exam, I'm like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. So I literally printed it out, and like, I don't know if you can see, but I was like, this is an example. Like, from 7 to 9, I'm doing chapter 1 of bio. From 9 to 11, I'm doing chemistry chapter 1. So like, these are like books that I'm studying, and then I'm like, oh, from this time to this time I'm doing questions. And that's really helpful because you have like, you know, you can't, you know, BS. You can't be on your phone twiddling your thumbs because you have to meet a deadline. Like, you set a deadline for yourself and you have to meet it. So yeah. So next, tip number 3 is follow your plan, because if you don't follow your plan, you're gonna fall behind, and then you have your MCAT coming up and then you're screwed. It's like, you're not screwed, but for real, like, follow your plan. I know it may be a lot, like I didn't fill out this whole thing, but when I had this whole thing filled out and I was actually taking my exam, I would look at this and be like, oh my god. But just take it one day at a time. Like, it's not, you'll be fine. Just take it one day at a time. And if you do fall behind, just write this in pencil. That's that way you can, like, you know, readjust. I know what I did was I gave every Sunday, like Sunday was my day off, and I would try not to study that day. But if I fell behind, I'd give myself like half a day off, like as punishment. Like, oh, you fell behind, you only get half a day off, so you have to catch up on this on Sunday, and you only get half. So yeah, try to catch up if you fall behind, but if not, readjust. Tip number 4 is take 1 full length every single week leading up to your exam. This is so important. Oh my god, this is so important. I don't care if you have 12 weeks left to your exam, you need to take a full length every single week. Because, and you're probably like, I'm not ready to take a full length. It's not about being ready, it's about building endurance, because this test low-key is a monster. It's like 7.5 hours. Like, who has the mental capacity to sit down and take an exam for 7.5 hours? No. So you're literally just building up endurance. You're not even like, in the beginning, you're not even like really testing your knowledge. You're just building up endurance to like be able to sit for that long and answer questions. So yeah, what I would do is every single Friday I would wake up early, and at 8 o'clock in the morning I was taking my full length, and I would finish by like 4, and then my brain was so fried I wouldn't do anything else that day. So yeah, every single Friday that was my thing. I was taking a full length test, and then the very next day you spend the entire day reviewing your full length. And the rule of thumb is that it should take you twice as long to review the exam as it did to take the exam. And that's because you need to do a thorough review of all your questions, even the ones you got right, because that's how you learn, by like studying things that you were taking, like doing questions on. So yeah, Fridays and Saturdays were just like exam review. That's it. That was it for me. And then Sunday, it was like my brain was like, I can't, because think about it, you're studying like literally all day every day for like 2 months. You need like a breather day. Or if you're really like, I can't not study, just take half a day. It's okay. So tip number 5 is that you need to cut out social media from your life for the entire span that you are taking, that you're studying for your test. Okay, so that is not for everybody. That was for me, because I was the type of person that if my phone even rang, I would be like, oh, look who texted me. Next thing I know, an hour has passed and I have been scrolling and liking things on Instagram, and it was like my downfall. So I deleted social media until I took my MCAT, and that honestly, it was like, that was a thing for me. And you might be like this too, and it might be so hard to delete Snapchat and Instagram and Twitter. It's okay. Like, what is important right now is getting into med school, like not how many likes you're getting on your pics, and like none of that. Like, worry about that after your exam. Make that like a treat to yourself after you kill your MCAT. Okay. And I also took iMessages off my computer. Like, when I was studying, my phone was not near me. It was in a different room. Next is tip number 6, and I know, like, you don't need to pay for a class, okay? Let's get that out there. You don't need a class to do well on your MCAT. You really don't. But what I do recommend you spending some money on is buying the question banks and full lengths from the AAMC, because those people are the exam creators. So who better to get questions and full lengths from than the people who actually make the test? Like, that's the most accurate representation of your actual exam questions. So I really highly recommend getting their question banks and full lengths from them, because like, they're awesome. So yeah, so the full lengths that they have, I would recommend leaving that till the end and taking full lengths from like a different company. And that's because their full lengths are very representative of what you're going to score on actual test day. So take your last full length 3 to 5 days before your actual MCAT exam, and if you do not score in the range that you want to be for your MCAT, and you just took that AAMC full length 3 to 5 days before your actual MCAT, reschedule. Don't play with yourself. You're probably gonna score that. Like, I did this. I thought that I was gonna do like 10 points better than what I scored on my like AAMC full length, and I was like, oh, this is not representative of what I'm gonna do. So much better on test day. Like, no, test day is 3 days away and you're not scoring where you want to score. So please, like, don't lie to yourself. Be true to yourself, because honestly, if you don't do well, you're gonna have to explain to yourself, and you're gonna have to be like, well, I wasn't scoring where I wanted to score, but I thought I was gonna do better on the road day. They're gonna be like, girl, you sound crazy. So be realistic with yourself. If you're not scoring where you want to score, reschedule. It's not the end of the world. It's really not. Like, it's not. Just reschedule. You're gonna thank me later, but you're gonna do great. So yeah, you're gonna do fine because you're following my tips. Next is memorize. Where's this little book? Memorize every single chemistry and physics equation and be able to write them all down in under 10 minutes. And some people might be like, okay, whatever, yeah, that's easy. But for me, at first I was like, oh my god, these are so many equations. But if you're able to do them in under 10 minutes, what you do is before you're starting your test, they do like a 10 or 15 minute tutorial of like what you have to like do for the exam, but you already know what you have to do because you've been taking full length every single week. So during the beginning of your test, while you're watching the tutorial, what you're really doing is you have a sheet of paper, you're writing down every single equation that you're gonna need for the chemistry and physics section, which is the first section. And so yeah, you have that while you're taking your full length. And for example, if the question is like do you guys notice that all like the physics questions are just like plug and chug? Like they're not complicated. They'll be like, oh, here, you know, the mass of this turtle is 2 pounds and his volume is 1, whatever the units are. What is his energy? And you're like, K equals 1/2 times mv squared. Okay, I know that. So then you know the answer. And basically, like, okay, so it's 3 pages, right? It's kinematics, Newton's laws, work and energy, thermodynamics, hydrostatics, fluid dynamics. Yeah, so you know them because you've been studying. So, you know, just memorize all the equations in the order that they are. Like, okay, this is work and energy, like memorize them and literally be able to write them all down in under 10 minutes. And when you're taking your MCAT, like, you just refer to your sheet real quick and you just plug and chug the physics equations, and it's like, it's all there. So honestly, that was my best section, and I think it's just because I was able to do it. Like, I did all my equations and I had like an equation sheet that I just brain dumped onto a piece of paper before I took my test. And to memorize them, just do like write out the equations every single day, like 3 times a day, in the morning, in the middle of the day, and before you go to bed. Just write every single equation down and then you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And I was a chem major too, but I think it was the equations. Tip number 8 is that you need, or you should be practicing the what is it called, critical analysis and reasoning skills portion. Like, do some questions from there every single day, because unless you're really good at that section, but I hated that section. It was like not science. There's no science in that section and I hated it. It was just like English and I was like, oh, I don't like English. I live in Newark, so those are the sirens for Newark. Yeah, every day, all day. So yeah, I'm gonna just wait. So yeah, so every single day, try to practice, like, do like 3 to 5 question sets from that section. And literally you're gonna just do, like, read so many passages that eventually you're gonna know exactly what to highlight while you're reading. And highlighting while you're reading for me was really important, because I would just highlight what I thought was relevant and what I think that will potentially be in a question stem. So that way when you're like, you get good at highlighting and you start highlighting exactly what they're gonna ask me. And when I would get to the questions, it'd be like, oh, like, what did this person feel or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, look, I highlighted that up here. And then I wouldn't have to reread the passage. I already had it highlighted because I did so many questions that I knew exactly. I was thinking like an exam person, or an exam maker. I was thinking like an exam maker, and I was like, they're gonna ask me a question on this because it just seems like something they're gonna ask me a question on because I've seen it so many times. So yeah, try to do that I would do it like before I went to bed. I did like 3 to 5 passages every day until exam day, and that helps. So my next piece of advice, number 9, is that I would recommend using multiple sources for the behavioral sciences section, because I don't think I just used Kaplan and that wasn't my best section, and I think it's because they don't have all the information you need in just like one company. Like, try to use somebody else. Like, use Kaplan and an exam cracker book, and like that way it's more information, because I honestly don't think that they had all the information in one book. And I've heard other people say that they used multiple sources and that really helped them. So I didn't do this, but I think it would be beneficial to do this. And last but not least, tip number 10. Questions. And you might be asking, where do I get all these questions? Oh, I've run out of questions from the question bank. Oh, I don't want to use the question bank. Like, okay, this is the holy grail of questions. Sterling Test Prep. So I love these books. Okay, so I use Sterling Test Prep books because I learn by doing questions, and I think a lot of people learn by doing questions. That's the best way to learn. The best way to learn is by doing. So what I did was, let's say I just spent the whole day studying embryology, and now I need to test myself on what I just studied to make sure that I absorbed and I know what I learned. So I will go, you know, flip to chapter 18 of the Sterling Test Prep Bio and Biochem book, and I will do questions on developmental development. And I would just do a whole bunch of questions, and basically if you're doing good, like if you get a whole bunch of questions right, you know that you know your information. Like, oh, I studied good today and I retained the information that I studied. And basically that's all I did. Like, I would just do questions. Like, anything I studied that day, later that day I would just do questions, or like the next day just do questions about it. Or if I feel like I'm like starting to forget something, I'm like, oh, I kind of want to review genetics, like let me see, I'll go back and I'll like do these questions over again. So I highly recommend Sterling Test Prep. This is not sponsored, but y'all should sponsor me because I love your books. So yeah, I'm actually thinking about giving some of these books away. So subscribe to my channel so I can give this away. So yes, those were all of my tips. I literally ran out of tips. So if you found this video even slightly helpful, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try and get back to you. Thanks for watching.